Welcome everybody to the channel. This is Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator. I'm not saying the only professional painter and decorator on YouTube, but I'm probably in the top one. It's an old Brian Clough joke. If you know who Brian Clough is, comments below. Right, this is the one you've all been waiting for. It's the one that gets a lot of questions asked. It's the one that you've seen it in probably the YouTube short that I've done. It's the silent killer. And I joke about it as the silent killer, but there's actually a serious element to that being a silent killer. Moulding properties, fungicidal mould, you name it. There's been a lot of it on the news. And councils, landlords, people with properties that are suffering from mould. We're panicking, aren't we? I'm a landlord. We're panicking. Now, there's various ways of cleaning down mould on surfaces, even down to the basics of a diluted bleach water. But it doesn't actually stop the problem of the mould coming back. Now, you've seen this thumbnail. Fungi shield from Glixtone. Do we pronounce it Glickstone? Glickstone. That sounds like something to me that Jason Bourne would be working for a company called Glickstone. Comments below. What was the name of the company that? Yeah, you know you're putting it down already, aren't you? Yeah, Jason Bourne, Bourne Identity, Ultimate. Yeah. Right. Yeah, we're joking, aren't we? We're wasting time. Right. It's the mould paint. This is the paint that if anybody asks me, if anybody's messaging me on Facebook or Instagram and they say to me, we've got a mould problem, what paint shall I use? The first paint that I actually say for anybody to use is this stuff. It's the only stuff that I know has actually got the longevity, you know the word I mean, that is the one that stops the mould coming back into the future. God, films and stuff today, isn't it? Back to the Future. But I originally came across this product when I went to a National Landlord Association meeting pre-COVID. So we're looking at 2018, 2019, pre-COVID. Can you remember those days? Oh, dear me. Well, coming out of it. We've moved on. And the guy, Nick, that I saw there, he was telling us about this paint, and I was really interested because that is my background. I'm a painter and decorator. I'm a painter and decorator and you're not. Tell us who says that. That's it. Give it a wink to Foxy. I'm not on about the gambling guy either. Foxy bingo. I'm not on about I'm a decorator and you're not. Right. Sorry. Right. He was telling us about his paint that they produced, and it's not the National Landlord Association anymore. It's the National. Oh, let's get it right. It's the National Residential Landlord Association, because they had an amalgamation between the Residential Landlord Association and the National Landlord Association, and they merged about 3 or 4 years ago. But it's the recognised supplier, and I say endorsed might be the wrong word to use, but they're the ones that recommend this paint if you've got a rental property that's suffering from mould, and it supposedly kills mould, and you paint it on and we don't have it coming back. Now, there's a system to it. Use the wash, which I'm going to do because I've got only a little bit in this bathroom. You just see it there. I've got a little bit of mould spores coming. So I've got some solution made up already with a soft cloth. Always read the instructions. This bottle, which is 240 ml, will make 5 litres of solution. Now, you can apply the solution by brush, a spray, i.e. like a garden spray, a rose sprayer, not an airless spray. I don't think you want to be using that. Or a soft cloth. So I've got a soft cloth in a bucket of warm water because I don't want to put my hands in cold water. I've only got a small amount of water because I've only got a small area. And I've put the equivalent ratio of 1 to 5 into that water. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to wipe it over, clean it down, give it a couple of wipes, let it dry, and then I'm going to paint it with the mother and daddy of all mould paints. And if you can see on the tin there, it tells you all about it. Always read the instructions. Please always read the instructions. Now this paint, it doesn't just have to go into bathrooms and kitchens. It can be used anywhere. So if you've got bedrooms, if you've got passageways, if you've got hallways, if you've got anywhere that's suffering from a mould, I'll use the word mould infestation. If you're suffering from mould because you've got outside walls that are cold and the heat inside, you know how mould forms. This is the paint for you anywhere. Now it can be made up, and I was told, into 150 different colours because they can tint it. I'm trying to think. ProMain are the people that can mix it for you, which are a subsidiary of Bromsby Paint, which is Paint Well. Probably other companies can mix it as well. Look into it if you need this making into a colour. I've got a white bathroom and I've got some white paint. That's all there is to it. Now, if you've got porous surfaces, dilute by 10% with some clean water, and then your next coat of paint that you put on, because it needs 2 coats, you can thicken it up. Now, I'm not probably going to thin by 10%. This is cheap contract emulsion, and I keep going on about cheap contract emulsion being false opacity paint, and when you wet it with your finger and you put it onto the surface, you can't see it, it goes a grey colour because it reverts back to the chalkiness of the pigments that's in it. It's not a hard wearing paint. So I'm going to thin this down slightly. I'm going to paint this area. I've had Dan, my brother-in-law, coming to do some plastering on that wall there and that wall there. That won't be painted because it's going to be tiled, but I can do the ceiling, the slope coming down, and the wall there. So once I've done all those areas, I'll let it dry and it'll have 2 coats. Now, I know the tiler's coming in to tile later on whenever I can get hold of him. So I'm under no illusions that I'll give it 2 coats today, and it's a 4-hour recoat time, probably dry in about an hour, 4-hour recoat time. So if I've got time today, I'll give it 2 coats. You'll be seeing me doing 1 because I don't need to bore you with the second coat. But there is a chance that once the tile has been in, and there might be a little bit of tiling splashes over the ceiling, before all the bathroom suite goes in, I might give it a 3rd coat. No skin off my nose, is it? It's my job. So that's what I'm going to do. That's where I am now. You're going to be very interested in how this is, isn't it? Oh, it's riveting, painting stuff. But this stuff that told me Nick, because I'm going to say how I got this paint. I've not been sponsored. No money's changed hands, but because I know Nick through the National Residential Landlord Association, and he's seen the channel, he says, I've seen you doing the renovation project, and when you're watching this was weeks ago, because you'll be probably seeing this in about a month's time from when I actually record it, because I've got that much already stacked up. He'd already seen what I was doing on the rental property, and he reached out to me, and then I said to him, I've already spoke to you and I've already met you before at the Nottingham branch Landlord Association, and he says, Phil, I'll send you a tin of paint to try, because I'm not saying I'm the target audience, but I'm doing what you may be wanting to do, and you need to know this paint, and it should last. And they say they've never had a failure. What does it say? 20 years, never had a failure. If you've had a failure with this, let me know. Have you contacted Glickstone and spoke to them if you've had a failure? What was your failure? Give us some comments. I'm hoping I don't have a failure, but I'm in a bathroom and I've got no window, I've got an extractor that works. And Michael, my electrician, has put me some new lights in, because if you've seen previous videos on that playlist, I'd got a dodgy light. He's replaced both of those lights for me. He's also replaced me new smoke alarms, wide-in smoke alarms, CO2 detectors. Oh, that's by the by. Problems are landlord. So without further ado, Barnum McGrew, Cuthbert Dibble and Grubb, I'm going to get some of this solution out. You'll see me wiping it down, and while that's all drying off, I've got other stuff to do. So see you in a little while. Well, you'll see me wiping it down. Might cut that out, might leave it in. It's a bit funny, isn't it, falling off that? It's not funny falling. That's wiped down quite nicely. There's just a little bit of residue stained into it, but I'm hoping the solution dries on that and it'll kill it. So next time you see me, I'll have some paint out. I'll have thinned it down slightly, clean water. I'll probably brush it for now because it's not a big area. See how we go. We'll see. Might get a roller out. Might brush it for now. Just a little tip. I will be just nipping onto that bare plaster. Just slightly, just nipping on, but not going onto it too much. And away we go. We'll see how we go. See you when I see you. Right, my lovelies. I've probably only been about half an hour and that's actually dried. So I've just tested the area up there where I've wiped down with the sterilising solution and it's dry. So I'm going to get painting because I really like to try and get 2 coats on today. Now, opened up the tin, mixed it up. It feels lovely in the tin to mix up. It doesn't feel thick. It actually feels like it doesn't want thinning. Probably doesn't. Now, I've tipped some paint out into, you know, I keep telling you, always tip your paint out into an old, this is an old, well, you don't have to use Optiva 5, but a smaller receptacle is the word I want to use, receptacle. I don't know how to spell it. But just tip out enough paint for what you want to use. Now, out of that 2.5 litre tin, I'm probably about there. I'll probably put about that much paint in there. And I've literally put a splash of water into it because not knowing what this is, and actually I'm rubbing my hand over it, it might even have a little bit of vinyl silk on it. But there is some areas where I've done filling, so I've only put a splash of water into it. I've not done 10%. Now I've mixed that up, got my brush out, and I don't know if you've seen that short that I did a while back. I always work from one side of the kettle. I work from one side of the kettle and I keep my hands clean, other than I might splash my hands for something, but work from one side of the kettle. And please stop double tapping. People going, just work from one side of the kettle. Well, by the by, just watch that short. There's a short there. Now I'm going to start painting this with the ceiling, bringing it down with the brush. It's going to go on a dream. I know it will go on a dream because if this is, I don't know whether it is or not, I don't know what's on it. It's not dry, it might be a soft sheen. I think it might be a soft sheen, but I have murked it, so I have taken off that surface tension that's there that a lot of people, if you've seen the videos there about painting over vinyl silk, people get crosling and people get problems because they're painting a matte finish. And this is a matte paint. This is Glickstone's matte white paint. So I'm going to do some painting, I'm going to apply it. I'll fast forward whatever you see on there and then we'll do a recap once I've done it. But so far so good. I'm liking the feel of the paint. Didn't take me long to coat that up with a 4-inch brush. That's the Eco Union 4-inch brush that I can't get anymore. Anybody give some recommendations for a 4-inch emulsion brush that's got a nice tip for cutting in and also bristles? Comments below, please. Coated that up nicely. It went on a dream. That's probably because we were going over a little bit of a soft sheen sort of finish. Because I'm not sponsored by anybody, because there's no money changing hands, and I'm an honest person to tell you what my initial thoughts are of paints. The opacity, stroke coverage, I'm noticing, and I'll put my hand up, that paint is slightly thinned. I only put a splash of water in it. There's certain areas, well, just blow off camera, that where pencil marks have been, where sinks have been taken out, where previous trades have been in and marked up certain areas where the bath is. I'm noticing I can see a pencil mark just coming through and little scuff marks. Now, hopefully, when I go back to coming to do this for a second coat, I'm going to use neat paint. Now, fingers crossed, those little scuff marks and where pencil marks are, they'll go. But we are talking about white. This isn't just a Glickstone issue. Whites, we do struggle covering marks with whites, don't we? Unless it's a high density obliterating paint, and then I go back onto me going on about flipping false opacity paints. This is far from it. This is a proper paint for mould areas, and this is in a bathroom. You can use it anywhere, I told you that earlier. But so far so good. I'm liking it. It brushes lovely. I don't need a roller on this. And where I can see it drying off, it looks a nice flat matte finish. And as I said earlier, I've got a feeling, sneaky suspicion, I'll be giving this a third coat, and how easy it was to apply, I think I'll give it a third coat, because my rentals, I normally keep a tenant in quite a while, so there's a chance that I won't be coming back to this for quite some, well, let's say a few good few years. So yeah, let's make the most of it while we've got it empty. We'll give it 3 coats, but yeah, you don't need to see the third coat, but I'll show you what it's like with the second coat later. Now, I'm going to have my dinner. I've got other filming to do and other areas to do painting. So when I've done that, I think time-wise, 4 hours will be up for giving this another coat. It's drying quite nicely. Now, on the back of the tin, it does say 4 hours drying time, recoat time, 5 days before it's properly cured, that you can be wiping it down and the moisture, you know, read the back of the can. See you later, alligator. Hello, me chickadees. Now it's getting on a bit, 4 hours odd, these walls are dry. Now, I want to say to you, don't forget, I did, and I'll get it out in a minute, I did add a little bit of water, and the maximum that you need to be thinning anything for dry, porous surfaces is 10%. I didn't add 10%, it was only literally a bit of a splash to allow for the porosity where the filler was soaking in, porosity soaks in. So what I've done now, I've wiped my paint back into the tin and I mixed it all up. So that little bit of thinned paint, because I've not got much left in the paint bucket, is now mixed in with the neat paint. In effect, I'm going on neat to all of this. Now, it's as flat as a pancake. Talk about impressed with the finish. And this is just first coat. It's not covered to the opacity stroke coverage, doesn't look too bad. I did mention to you about pencil marks. I'm hoping they'll be gone with the second coat. But all in all, first coat's looking quite promising. Now, if you've got any questions, you can always ask me. But particularly with this paint, right? And also the sterilising solution. If you go to the Glixtone.com website, there is how-to guides frequently, I've not even had a drink, frequently asked questions. So if in doubt, always look at the manufacturer's website, and that might be able to help you if you've got any questions as well. And don't forget, nobody bites, you know. If in doubt, you can always pick up a phone. You know, I know people probably don't remember how to use a phone now. It's all texting and internet, the day of the internet and Facebook. But always pick up a phone, because there's a phone number there if you want to ring anybody. Speak to Nick, like I spoke to Nick. When Nick rang me to reach out to me to say, Phil, I've seen your channel, seen what you're doing. You've got, well, I've told you that. He's sent me a tin of paint and some sterilising solution. So I've got all that. If in doubt, always look on the website. So without further ado, Barnum McGrew, I love that. Cuthbert Dibble and Grubb from Camberwick Green and all them Windy Miller. Oh, can you remember Windy Miller? Yeah, Windy Miller. What was the guy that did the Camberwick Green? He used to do Play School, didn't he? You know what I mean. You'll give me some comments. I've forgotten. He used to voice all them kids programs back in the 70s. Right, I'm going to crack on, going to get a coat on there, and when you see me next, I'll be summing up what we think of this paint. But so far so good with that first coat, and fingers crossed, I'm going to get 20 years out of this paint with no mould on it. Hopefully. Right everybody, that's the second coat gone on. Went on a dream, literally a dream. Phone's going. Went on a dream. That, for second coat, as a matte finish, didn't pull. It's about dry. The only areas that are a little bit wet is where there was some marker pen behind the pedestal originally, and I sprayed a bit of Blockade. That's the Roger and Smith Rogers Blockade, shellac based stain blocker. It's just hanging a little bit wet on that, but the rest of it is all dry, and I have to say I'm really impressed with that flat finish. I know it's in a bathroom and somebody will say, oh, you want a silk finish in the bathroom. No, I don't want a silk finish in the bathroom. I'll put it with a matte finish, and this isn't going to go mouldy on me, is it? So it doesn't matter. I can't see at this point any flashing. It's not big areas, and I've brushed it. I think if you look in, you might just find something, but nothing that stands out to me. Opacity coverage, I can see a little bit of, I don't want to say picture framing, it's more of a case where the mirror was. Where the mirror was there, there's just a bit of shadowing at the side, you know, where the dirt from the old paint. You probably lose that when I put a new mirror in, but I've got a sneaky suspicion I'm going to be putting a third coat on this because other people will damage it. Yeah. But on the whole, dead impressed with that, and if I can get nearly 20 years worth out of this paint for no mould, brilliant. Now that up there, I don't know whether you can see it, wiped off with the sterilising solution, doing that 1:5 ratio mix, however it works out, just read the instructions. I wiped it down twice with a microfiber, and that looks alright. A lot of it came off with the cloth, some was just impregnated. It's a big word for a Monday morning, impregnated. But on the whole, brilliant white. Opacity coverage, I'm happy with that for 2. And it is white, we know what we have problems with whites anyway. But application wise, if you're a DIYer or not really into brushing paint, this paint brushed beautifully. Beautifully. I'd put that spot of water in it for the first coat, but this, can't go wrong with it. I'm going to see how it's going to be because it's going to be a rental. But on the whole, so far so good. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me. Any questions, ask. And don't forget, there's always the Glickstone website, glixtone.com. Link below. Thank you very much.